Hi everyone, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed yesterday's class and you've started implementing all that you learned. Remember that results are found in doing, not just in listening. So please go through your notes and start implementing for your child's sake. Thank you for coming back. So today we'll be talking about nutrition basics and I'll be focusing on carbohydrates, protein, fat, iron, vitamin C, vitamin D, and calcium. So let's begin with carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are major macronutrients and the body's primary source of fuel. While all carbs are made of sugar, not all carbs are equal. There are simple carbs and complex carbs. Carbohydrates are made up of three components: fiber, starch, and sugar. And whether a food source is labeled simple carbs or complex carbs depends on the proportion of fiber, starch, and sugar that are found in it. Simple carbs are made up of simple sugars that spike and quickly drop the blood sugar, leaving the child hungry sooner. Example is rice, pasta, white bread, and your cereal. Complex carbs, these are the preferred type of carbohydrates that we should eat because they absorb more slowly, providing a steady supply of energy which keeps the child fuller for longer. Examples: brown rice, pap, 100% wheat bread, beans, lentils, okpa, potatoes, and the rest of them. Please remember this: whole grains are an excellent source of complex carbs, which means that they help regulate digestion, fight obesity, and protect against a long list of diseases that may have their roots in childhood. So you want to protect your child's health by feeding them whole grains as against ones that are simple, as against the simple carbohydrates. One of the simple ways to add whole grains to your child's meal is to mix them with foods they already eat. For example, your child already eats formula. So instead of giving them Cerelac, why not swap the Cerelac with oats plus formula? Then remember that you have to grind the oats or cook, then blend before you feed the child, especially if the child is 6 months. Another example is oats, coconut milk, peanut butter, plus banana. Now, here's an assignment for you to do. Send to the child nutrition group, the class, send 2 complex carbs that your child is already eating. If your child is not eating any complex carbs at all, please still come to the group and let me know so that we'll decide on how to help you incorporate complex carbs into your baby's meals. If you must purchase store-bought cereal, look for ones with whole grains listed as the first ingredient. If you see refined flour, please just let that product go. Double check for the word whole. Don't fall for words like enriched, fortified. The goal is whole grains. Look out for that. Let's talk about protein. The structure and function of our bodies depend on protein. They are macronutrients just like carbohydrates, which means that the body requires them in large proportions as they need them for building, maintaining, and repairing tissues, cells, and organs. At 6 months and above, as long as you continue to breastfeed your baby, he or she will still be getting most of the protein he needs from the breast milk or formula. However, since at some point your baby will have to say bye-bye to breast milk, now is a good time for him to start sampling other protein-packed foods. When a protein food source is eaten, it is broken down into 20 amino acids. According to Sydney Green, a dietitian, amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein, can be made in the body and also obtained from food. There are 9 out of the 20 that cannot be produced in the body. So we must get them from food. So these 9 are called essential amino acids, while the remaining 11, which can be produced by the body, are classified as non-essential. Most animal sources of protein are complete protein, complete because they contain the 20 amino acids, but most especially the 9 essential amino acids. That's why it would be called complete protein. However, most plant-based protein sources do not contain the 9 essential amino acids, or they just don't contain them in adequate proportions. So let's recap. Carbohydrates, sorry, protein made up of 20 amino acids, complete if it contains the 9 that cannot be produced by the body. Incomplete because it does not contain the 9 that are essential, or it just does not contain them in the ratios that are adequate. Sources of complete protein: beef, yogurt, chicken, turkey, soy, bambara, pork, fish. In fact, most animal protein. Let me just point this out. It's rare to find a plant source of protein that contains the 9 essential amino acids. So the incomplete protein sources are seeds, nuts, lentils, almond, beans. These are incomplete protein because they do not contain the 9 essential amino acids. However, there are ways to combine some plant sources of protein so that they become complete, because some of them contain some of the 9, some don't. So when you merge them together, when you eat them closely together, you get the complete protein. So example is like peanut butter plus pap. So when you combine legumes with grains, you get your complete protein. An example, like I said earlier, is peanut butter plus pap. Peanut butter is made from granules. Granules is legumes. Pap is made from grains. So when you eat the two of them together, complete protein. Another example is beans plus rice. So when you eat beans and rice, you actually eat a balanced meal, your complete not balanced because it still does not contain your vegetables. So beans plus rice equals complete protein. You do not really you now see that you don't even need to add chicken or beef to your beans and rice. So how would you give this to your child? Puree, thin out. Remember the class from yesterday. Give in the texture that is appropriate for your child's stage of feeding. So another way to make your meal complete, to make the protein in some foods complete, is legumes plus nuts or seeds. So chickpea plus sesame seeds, that's actually hummus. That's the recipe for hummus. You now add some olive oil, some spices like garlic and salt, but no salt for babies less than 1. So another example is lentils and chia seeds. So cook your lentils with chia seeds to make the protein complete. Now let's talk about fat. This is my favorite nutrient because it's so controversial. And a few of the things I'll be sharing today will be table shaking, to say the least, because there are lots of conflicting informations and misinformations, but I have my facts straight on this one. And I'm not just allowing you to take my word for it. I have a suggested reading for you, which I would send to your email. But if you're not in my child cooking and nutrition class, please request for this suggested reading in your email. It's important that you understand why you cook with the kind of oil that you do, that you cook with. It's just important to make the right information, to make a decision with the right information. Fats are macronutrients which are essential for brain development. Every membrane, every cell, every organelle inside of cells are made up of fats. Many hormones and other active substances in the body are made of fat. Question is, what kind of fat? There has been a lot of conflicting information and misinformation about fat, like I said earlier. So you hear that animal fat is evil. Do not take animal fat. Don't give them to older people, don't give them to children, and all of that. They've been labeled bad and blamed for all sorts of illnesses. Now, large corporations now provide us with synthetic substitutes. You must have seen and read that vegetable oils are better than animal fat for cooking. There are lots and lots and lots of vegetable oil brands riding on this misinformation to make profit. But no one tells us how all these processed oils and fats are made, what exactly they contain, what effects they may have on human health. I don't know about you, but my common sense tells me that fat that is produced naturally, fat that can be gotten naturally, should be better than fats that are synthetic and fats that are produced somewhere. I don't know if you get what I mean. So I would rather give my child fats that I know where it's coming from, that I know what it contains. It's coming from animals, it's coming from butter, it's coming from avocado, from coconuts, than give them ones that have passed through lots of homogenization and all of that. So that's my take. So these are my personally preferred sources of fat. Lard, I make this one. It's rendered pig fat. Tallow, rendered beef fat. And there's butter, there's ghee. I've never used ghee before. Then there's olive oil, there's coconut oil, there's red oil. Others are avocado, egg yolk, oily fish. These are sources of fat, healthy sources of fat. My preferred sources of fat. According to Dr. Natasha Campbell, my dearest Dr. Natasha Campbell, we need all of the natural fats in natural foods. Saturated and unsaturated fats need to be the largest part of our fat intake. Dietary fats go into the structure of the body, brain, bones, muscle, immune system, etc. Every cell in the body is made out of fat to a large degree. Dr. Natasha Campbell, she's a neurologist, she's a nutritionist, she's a medical doctor. So she has done her research, she knows her stuff. So this additional reading I'm sending to you guys is actually an excerpt from her book. So please, it's important that you read that and make the right information for yourself, for your family. Don't take my word for it. Let's talk about iron. Iron in your baby's diet is important for building immunity, supporting their growth, brain development, and preventing iron deficiency anemia. Iron, there are two types. There's the heme iron and non-heme iron. The heme iron is easily absorbed, while the non-heme iron are not easily absorbed. Sources of heme iron: liver. But liver should be given from 9 months old. According to what I read, they contain too much vitamin A for children less than 9 months. So there's beef, there's poultry, there's fish. These sources of iron listed here are easily absorbed by the body. Then there's the non-heme iron, and the sources are eggs, peas, beans, green leafy veggies. So how do you ensure that your body absorbs these non-heme iron? By eating these foods, these sources with vitamin C. So for example, okay, you already know that the sources of vitamin C: red bell peppers, orange, kiwi. So for my eggs, instead of just making plain eggs, I'll make my eggs. I add some red bell peppers to my omelette. That way, I can easily absorb the iron from the egg. Same as peas, beans. So again, vitamin C plus non-heme iron equals easily absorbed. So it to be easily, it doesn't make it iron, but it makes it easily absorbable by the body. Let's talk about calcium. Calcium is an essential nutrient for normal growth and development of bones in children. It's responsible for blood clotting, enzyme, hormone, and nerve functions. Both breast milk and formula provide all the calcium your baby needs for the first 1 year. Sources are yogurt, baobab, almond nuts, okra, chia seeds, and bambara nuts. Please note, this is very key, that calcium requires vitamin D for the body to absorb it adequately. So even if your child gets enough calcium in his diet, his body will still not absorb that calcium if he or she doesn't get enough vitamins for vitamin D. And one great source of vitamin D is early morning sunshine. Very great source of vitamin D. So let me share this personal experience with you. My son, he has a long medical history, which was why I got really interested in child nutrition, and I'm pursuing the knowledge and sharing with mothers. So on one of the visits to the hospital, they needed to do an endocrinology test, which means, to check the vitamins, minerals that his body contains. And what they found was that his calcium level was high, so high. However, his vitamin D level was low. So if the calcium level was so high, it just means that the body was not absorbing the calcium. So I had to start taking him out to the sun more often. Instead, giving him, they recommended an iron supplement. Instead, please don't give your child any supplements without your doctor's approval. I'm just sharing my personal experience with you. So vitamin D plus calcium. Remember that. Vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin, which means it is stored in the body's fat tissue. It is required for the absorption of calcium. Sources include exposure to sunlight, egg yolk, mackerel. This brings us to the end of nutrition basics for your baby. We move on to the next class tomorrow. Thank you again so much for listening. This was a long one. Remember your additional reading. Remember your assignment. Thank you again for listening. See you in the next class.